There comes a time when the heart no longer wants to pretend that everything is fine. The world may see your smile, your achievements, your effort to keep moving, but beneath it all, something aches quietly. That ache isn't a weakness. It's the echo of your own soul asking to be felt. Pain in its raw form is not punishment. It's a messenger of truth, an invitation to return home to yourself. So many people try to escape their pain by chasing distractions, masking emotions, or seeking validation in places where presence doesn't live. But healing doesn't happen when you run. Healing begins when you pause, when you breathe into the discomfort and let it speak. Inside that silence lives a hidden current of power, the ability to turn emotional pain into vibrational strength. In this journey, you'll discover how to convert the very energy that once held you down into the frequency that lifts you higher. You'll learn to meet your emotions not with fear, but with awareness, to see how your deepest wounds are, in truth, gateways to expansion. This isn't about avoiding life's storms, it's about learning to dance in the rain with consciousness and courage. Your presence is the alchemy, and your intention is the flame. From this moment on, every breath you take is an act of creation. You're not broken, you're becoming. Take a breath. The transformation begins here. Pain often arrives uninvited, yet it always carries a message. It appears in the moments when life seems to stand still, when your reflection no longer feels familiar, and when the rhythm of your days echoes with a quiet emptiness. The world often teaches you to escape it, to drown it in noise, distraction, or forced optimism, but pain, when resisted, only deepens its roots. When embraced with awareness, it transforms into energy, pure vibrational potential that can propel you toward the life you truly deserve. Every emotion that lingers within you is a current of frequency. Fear vibrates at one tone, love at another. Pain is not a low vibration to be avoided, but an unrefined signal asking to be tuned. It is raw, dense energy waiting for consciousness to sculpt it. When you approach pain with presence rather than panic, it begins to change form. Your attention, anchored in the now, becomes the crucible that turns heaviness into light. This is not an abstract idea. It is a physiological and energetic truth. The heart's electromagnetic field, when harmonized with emotion, alters the body's chemistry and the mind's perception. You do not need to fight your pain, you need to listen until it reveals its rhythm. Imagine standing inside a storm. The instinct is to seek shelter, to run from the thunder. Yet when you stop resisting, something remarkable happens. The storm begins to teach you how to stand still, how to breathe amid chaos. Pain functions in the same way. It dismantles the illusions you've built to survive and asks you to rebuild from authenticity. It exposes the fractures where light can finally enter. You begin to realize that your suffering is not proof of weakness, but evidence of deep sensitivity, a sign that your soul refuses to live numb. In truth, pain and transformation are siblings. One gives birth to the other. You cannot reach higher frequencies of joy and abundance without passing through the gateway of discomfort. The process is not linear. One day you may feel ready to let go. The next, you might fall back into the same ache. That oscillation is natural. It is not regression. It is integration. Each return to the pain is an opportunity to meet it from a higher level of consciousness, to soften where you once resisted, to breathe where you once held tension. Transformation is repetition infused with awareness. Presence is your most powerful instrument. When you breathe consciously into your body, you are not simply inhaling air, you are inviting life itself. The breath reclaims the spaces that pain once occupied. It regulates your nervous system, signaling safety where fear had nested. Through this physiological calm, the body begins to align with the mind, and energy starts to flow again. Stillness becomes a sacred language. The silence that follows a conscious breath is not emptiness, it is recalibration, the exact moment when energy reorganizes itself in your favor. There is a sacred paradox at the heart of transformation. What you accept fully loses its power to control you. The moment you stop resisting your pain, you stop feeding it. Acceptance does not mean surrendering to despair. It means reclaiming authorship of your experience. By choosing to be fully present with your emotions, you take back the creative power you unknowingly handed to them. That is the essence of vibrational mastery, realizing that everything you feel can serve your evolution if you approach it with awareness. Each painful event holds encoded wisdom. A heartbreak teaches the art of letting go. A failure reveals where courage was hiding. Loneliness opens a path to self-intimacy. The key is to observe your pain, not as punishment, but as curriculum. The universe does not waste energy. Every experience carries the potential for growth. The more you understand this, the more your perception shifts from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this trying to awaken in me?" That single change in perspective alters your frequency completely. When you begin to see your pain as vibrational material, gratitude naturally follows. Gratitude is not denial. It is the highest form of acceptance. It doesn't glorify suffering. It acknowledges the transformation born from it. Gratitude converts emotional chaos into harmony, signaling to the universe that you are ready to receive lessons as blessings. In that frequency, opportunities start aligning effortlessly. You'll notice subtle synchronicities, a conversation, a symbol, a song, gently guiding you forward. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of your internal shift. Turning pain into power requires patience and tenderness. It asks you to move slowly, to replace judgment with curiosity. The healing process is not about perfection, it's about presence. Each time you return to awareness, even for a second, you rewire the old narrative that said you were powerless. Slowly, the story changes, from victimhood to authorship, from scarcity to abundance, from disconnection to communion. This chapter is not an invitation to romanticize pain, but to understand it as sacred data. Every tear, every tremor of the heart, is part of your spiritual evolution. When you hold your pain with compassion, it softens and becomes guidance. What was once unbearable becomes instructive. What was once darkness becomes direction. You no longer seek to escape the storm. You learn to walk within it, guided by the quiet certainty that every flash of lightning illuminates a new path. In the end, pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken the dormant strength hidden beneath the surface of your being. When you allow it to do its work, you rise from the ashes of your own resistance, luminous and whole. Your vibration begins to change, subtly at first, then undeniably. You start to notice that life mirrors your inner calm. The same reality that once felt heavy begins to respond differently because you are different. Pain was the teacher, presence became the practice, intention became the transformation, and this is where the alchemy begins. When you transform pain into vibrational fuel, you become the embodiment of resilience, a living reminder that even the deepest wounds can sing when met with awareness. The universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your energy. And when that energy is born from presence and intention, the life you deserve begins to unfold, not as a distant dream, but as a living frequency within you. There is a silent intelligence within you, a rhythm that knows exactly how to bring your life into balance. Yet most people move through their days disconnected from that rhythm, lost in a cycle of reaction and repetition. They carry dreams that feel too distant, not because those dreams are impossible, but because their energy isn't aligned with what they desire. The truth is simple. Manifestation isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about aligning your internal frequency with the reality you wish to experience, and that alignment begins with emotional awareness. Emotions are not random. They are the language of energy. Each feeling you experience sends a signal into the field around you, communicating with the universe before words ever do. When you feel love, gratitude, and presence, your energy expands. It harmonizes with the creative flow of life. When you live in fear, resentment, or doubt, your energy contracts, cutting you off from that same flow. Emotional alignment isn't about pretending to feel good all the time. It's about becoming honest enough to feel everything consciously. It is awareness, not suppression, that transforms vibration. Imagine that your emotions are instruments in an orchestra. When one is out of tune, the entire song of your life feels dissonant. You can't force harmony by silencing the instrument. You must listen carefully and retune it with patience. Emotional alignment is that process of tuning, learning to recognize what each emotion is trying to teach you rather than judging it. Anger may reveal the need for boundaries. Sadness may ask for release. Fear may be guiding you toward deeper faith. Every emotion has purpose when met with presence. The modern world teaches us to intellectualize everything, to analyze pain rather than feel it, to plan rather than embody. But emotion lives in the body, not the mind. True manifestation begins when thought and emotion unite, when your ideas are not merely concepts but felt experiences. You can say 1,000 affirmations, but if your emotional state contradicts your words, the universe listens to your vibration, not your vocabulary. This is why emotional alignment matters more than effort. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are consistently vibrating. There is a profound shift that occurs when you stop asking, "How do I get what I want?" and start asking, "How can I become the energy of what I desire?" That question alone changes everything. It invites you to embody the frequency of your intention now, before any external change occurs. If you seek peace, practice stillness in your body. If you long for love, cultivate warmth in your heart. If you desire abundance, allow gratitude to expand through you. These emotions become the vibrational blueprint for the life you're creating. Presence is the bridge between emotion and manifestation. When you're truly present, you're not trapped in the stories of the past or the anxieties of the future. You are in direct contact with energy as it moves through you. This moment, not tomorrow, not next week, is where alignment happens. The breath, the pulse, the awareness in your chest. This is where you meet the universe halfway. Emotional alignment isn't an intellectual exercise, it's an embodied conversation with the divine. There is also humility in this practice. Alignment doesn't mean perfection, it means coherence. Even when life feels chaotic, you can return to that quiet space within where your energy reorganizes itself. Every deep breath, every pause before reacting, every moment of gratitude, these are acts of energetic recalibration. Over time, they change your entire frequency. You become a transmitter of stability in a world addicted to noise. Sometimes, alignment begins with dissonance. You must first notice the areas of your life that drain you. Environments, relationships, or habits that lower your vibration. Awareness alone begins to dissolve their hold on you. As you release what no longer resonates, your energy becomes lighter, clearer. You begin to attract people and situations that reflect your inner clarity. The universe always mirrors your energetic state. It cannot respond differently. That is why emotional honesty is a form of spiritual hygiene. To live in alignment is not to escape the human experience, but to participate in it with consciousness. It is to realize that every emotion, from joy to despair, is a tool for awakening. Instead of labeling emotions as positive or negative, see them as movements of energy, each guiding you toward greater wholeness. The goal isn't to eliminate pain, but to allow it to flow through you without resistance. That flow keeps your frequency alive, fluid, and magnetic. When you are emotionally aligned, manifestation becomes effortless, not because you control the universe, but because you cooperate with it. The outer world begins to synchronize with your inner world. Opportunities appear, relationships evolve, and ideas emerge with clarity. What once felt forced begins to feel natural. The effort transforms into flow. You start recognizing that alignment is not something you do once. It's a way of being, a continuous dialogue between your energy and existence itself. Emotional alignment is the art of remembrance, remembering that you are not separate from life, but an expression of its intelligence. Every heartbeat, every sensation, every feeling is part of a larger conversation between your soul and the universe. When you listen deeply, you realize that alignment was never about fixing yourself. It was about remembering who you are beneath the noise, awareness, energy, and intention in motion. As this awareness grows, your relationship with reality transforms. You begin to trust life again, not blindly, but intuitively. You notice that even the moments of uncertainty carry wisdom. You stop chasing outcomes and start aligning with purpose. You stop trying to control energy and start becoming it. And in that sacred becoming, life unfolds not as a struggle but as a reflection of your highest coherence. Emotional alignment is not a destination, but a frequency you learn to maintain with gentleness and devotion. It asks for courage, the courage to feel deeply, to remain open, and to choose presence over reaction. Yet the reward is extraordinary, a life that feels authentic, fluid, and divinely guided. When your emotions harmonize with your intentions, you are no longer surviving reality. You are co-creating it. And that, in its purest form, is the hidden power that turns inner harmony into outer manifestation. There comes a point in every journey when doing more no longer works. You read, meditate, affirm, and strive to change your energy, yet the results seem to slip through your fingers. That is the threshold of true transformation, a moment when action must give way to stillness. Many misunderstand stillness as inactivity, when in truth it is the most powerful state of alignment a human being can embody. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of awareness so deep that everything unnecessary dissolves into silence. Transformation is not born from effort alone. It emerges from surrender. Not the kind of surrender that gives up, but the one that lets go, that allows the natural intelligence of life to breathe through you without resistance. In this sacred stillness, the mind no longer dictates what should happen. The heart begins to lead. This is the point where energy reorganizes itself, where pain turns into wisdom, and where presence becomes the doorway to manifestation. When you stop running from your emotions, you begin to hear them clearly. Pain that once screamed becomes a whisper of guidance. Fear that once paralyzed you transforms into a teacher of courage. The silence reveals what noise kept hidden. Every unresolved emotion starts to surface, not to destroy you, but to be seen and integrated. The more you sit with what arises, the more you hold it without judgment, the more your energy field stabilizes. You stop living as a fragmented being and start vibrating as a coherent soul. Stillness also dismantles the illusion of control. The human mind constantly seeks to predict and manage every outcome, believing that certainty equals safety. But certainty often cages the spirit. Life unfolds in mystery, not in maps. The more you cling to plans, the further you drift from presence. In contrast, when you allow stillness to guide your choices, you enter the flow of synchronicity. Things begin to align, not because you force them, but because you are finally moving in rhythm with the intelligence of the universe. This kind of alignment is not passive. It requires trust, a level of faith that feels like standing on the edge of the unknown and realizing that the ground appears only after you step forward. The spiritual path often leads you to that edge. The pain you once feared becomes the initiation that refines your faith. Each breath becomes an act of courage, each pause a declaration that you are ready to meet life as it is. Transformation happens not in the noise of doing, but in the quiet recognition that everything is already unfolding for your growth. Stillness also reveals how deeply conditioned the body is to chaos. Many people feel anxious when silence arrives because they have equated stillness with emptiness. Yet within true silence, there is immense fullness, a pulse of creative power that only awareness can touch. When you finally stop running, the energy that was scattered by resistance begins to return home. You reclaim fragments of yourself that were lost in striving. The body softens, the breath deepens, and clarity emerges without demand. To rest consciously in stillness is to let the universe speak through you. The answers you chase externally start to rise from within. Insight is not something you think your way into. It is something that unfolds when the mind becomes quiet enough to hear it. Many of the greatest shifts in energy occur not in moments of intensity, but in moments of profound silence. When you finally stop trying to fix yourself and simply allow yourself to exist, there is humility in stillness. It teaches that you are not separate from the rhythm of life, but an expression of it. Every inhale and exhale mirrors the ocean's tide, expansion and release, creation and surrender. When you begin to live by this rhythm, your manifestations no longer come from effort. They emerge from coherence. You become a vessel through which energy flows unhindered. The more space you create inside yourself, the more the universe can move through you. Stillness is also the great mirror. It reflects everything you've avoided seeing, the patterns, attachments, and hidden fears. But this reflection is not punishment, it is purification. The pain that arises in stillness is not new, it is simply what has been waiting for your awareness. Each time you stay with it, you dissolve another layer of unconscious resistance. Over time, you stop fearing your inner world and start trusting its intelligence. You realize that peace isn't something you earn after fixing everything. Peace is what remains when you stop fighting what is. Transformation through stillness requires a new kind of strength, one that is quiet yet unshakable. It's the strength of one who can sit with uncertainty and still feel anchored. The strength of one who understands that vulnerability is not weakness, but a portal to authenticity. In this space, your vibration changes effortlessly. The universe does not respond to your noise. It responds to your frequency, and your frequency becomes coherent only when stillness takes root inside you. The sacred stillness of transformation is not an escape from life. It is a deeper participation in it. When you cultivate inner quiet, you begin to hear the subtle instructions of existence. You notice the perfect timing of encounters, the hidden symmetry of events, and the beauty within moments that once felt meaningless. You become less reactive and more receptive. This receptivity opens the gateway to inspired action, the kind of action that arises not from fear, but from divine impulse. Eventually, you realize that stillness is not something you visit in meditation. It is who you are beneath every thought. It is the ground of your being, the unchanging awareness that watches the rise and fall of emotions, desires, and stories without becoming them. When you live from that awareness, manifestation is no longer about reaching for what you lack. It becomes a natural extension of your wholeness. You attract from fullness, not from need. In the silence of being, everything finds its rightful place. The storms calm not because the world changes, but because your perception does. You move from turbulence to trust, from resistance to resonance. This is the sacred stillness where transformation becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed it. And in that allowance, you remember the truth that has been whispering all along. You were never separate from the universe. You were always its still point, waiting to awaken. When awareness begins to deepen, a new challenge often arises: how to sustain the state of coherence once it has been found. It is one thing to touch inner alignment in moments of peace, and another to carry that vibration into the movement of life, into conversations, responsibilities, and uncertainty. This chapter is about that sacred continuity, the art of remaining open while the world still turns. True transformation is not a single event. It is a sustained expansion of frequency, an ongoing dialogue between your energy and existence itself. Every expansion begins with a stretch. Growth is rarely comfortable because it asks you to inhabit a wider space than your old identity can contain. The mind wants to cling to the familiar. The heart longs to evolve. Between the two lies the creative tension that defines your journey. Vibrational expansion happens when love becomes stronger than fear, when curiosity becomes louder than doubt, and when presence becomes more important than control. It is not about climbing higher, but about widening your capacity to hold both shadow and light with equal compassion. Energy follows attention. Whatever you nurture with your focus begins to grow. When you dwell on lack, you multiply it. When you attune to gratitude, you magnify abundance. The field of reality responds to your dominant vibration. This is not a metaphor, it is resonance. The universe mirrors coherence. The moment you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the vibration of what you seek, life begins to reorganize around that signal. This is why the internal work always precedes external manifestation. You cannot attract from scarcity what belongs to expansion. Abundance is not something you chase, it is something you allow. It cannot coexist with inner contraction because abundance thrives on openness. The more you release resistance, the more space you create for life to fill. That is why forgiveness, gratitude, and surrender are not moral virtues, but vibrational technologies. Each act of forgiveness clears stagnant energy. Each moment of gratitude amplifies receiving. Each gesture of surrender invites trust. These qualities lift your vibration because they dissolve the density of fear. Expansion, therefore, is not about adding more. It is about removing the barriers to your natural radiance. To live in an expanded state is to realize that every event, pleasant or painful, is contributing to your evolution. Nothing is wasted. The universe is both mirror and mentor, reflecting your inner patterns until you see them clearly. When you meet life with resistance, you create friction. When you meet it with awareness, you generate flow. Expansion begins where resistance ends. It is a gradual softening of the nervous system, a return to the rhythm of life's intelligence. The more you trust that rhythm, the less you need to control it. This expansion is not about bypassing human emotion. It is about embracing it fully without drowning in it. The heart becomes the instrument through which higher frequencies are expressed. Joy and sorrow, peace and frustration, All are variations of the same vibration. To expand vibrationally means to include everything, to stop labeling experiences as good or bad, and to see them instead as colors of one spectrum. When you no longer reject any part of yourself, your frequency stabilizes, and stability becomes magnetism. The mind often seeks evidence before believing, but energy works in the opposite direction. Belief precedes evidence. You must first generate the vibration of what you desire to experience before it can materialize. This is not wishful thinking, it is energetic causality. Every creation begins in the invisible field of emotion and intention. Expansion demands consistency, not in effort, but in frequency. The more consistently you dwell in gratitude, trust, and coherence, the faster the outer world reflects those states back to you. Vibrational expansion is also deeply physical. The body is not separate from your energy field. It is its anchor. Tension, posture, and breath all influence frequency. When the body is closed, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, breath shallow, energy circulation weakens. When the body opens, chest lifted, breath deep, presence rooted, your signal strengthens. Expansion is as much about embodiment as it is about consciousness. Your biology responds to your beliefs. Each mindful breath becomes a recalibration of the entire system. There is also a relational aspect to expansion. The more you grow vibrationally, the more your environment begins to shift. People, habits, and circumstances that once resonated with your old frequency may start to fall away. This is not rejection, it is resonance. Every ending in expansion is a realignment, making space for connections that match your new energy. If you resist this process, you remain stuck between worlds, no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. The key is to bless every transition as sacred timing, trusting that what leaves your life creates room for what is aligned. To expand vibrationally is to live in dialogue with the unseen. You begin to recognize signs, coincidences that aren't coincidences, intuitions that arrive unannounced, opportunities that seem perfectly timed. These are not miracles in the distant sense. They are the natural language of coherence. The more you align, the clearer this language becomes. Intuition sharpens, guidance strengthens, and action flows from inner knowing rather than external pressure. You start to experience manifestation not as effort, but as partnership. Eventually, expansion reveals its true purpose, not to accumulate, but to remember. To remember that you are not a fragment seeking completion, but consciousness exploring itself through the spectrum of experience. Each expansion is a return to wholeness, to harmony, to the awareness that you were never separate from the universe you tried to attract. In this realization, manifestation loses its tension. You no longer ask, "How can I make this happen?" but rather, "How can I align with what is already true?" The art of vibrational expansion is the art of receptivity. It is about holding your energy open, even when life challenges your trust. It is about standing inside uncertainty, with the quiet knowing that every vibration you embody becomes the foundation for your next reality. The universe does not rush, it resonates. When you become steady in your vibration, unshaken by outer noise, life rises to meet you in harmony. In the end, expansion is not measured by how much you have, but by how freely energy flows through you. It is felt in the calm that follows chaos, in the gratitude that replaces expectation, in the love that no longer seeks permission to exist. When your vibration expands, the world does not change because you conquered it. It changes because you became the consciousness through which everything is illuminated. That is the essence of vibrational mastery, not control, but coherence, not possession, but presence. And from that state of expanded awareness, manifestation becomes not a pursuit, but a natural consequence of your being. There is a sacred rhythm woven through the human experience, a dance between expansion and contraction, light and shadow, silence and sound. Every pain you have carried, every moment of confusion or loss, was never meant to diminish you. It was meant to refine you, to break the walls around your heart so your light could move freely again. What you once perceived as chaos was, in truth, divine order unfolding beneath the surface, guiding you toward alignment with your true frequency. The journey of transformation is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering the vastness of who you already are. Beneath the layers of fear, expectation, and resistance lies the pure essence of your being, a consciousness capable of creating worlds through presence and intention. Pain was never a punishment. It was a call to awaken. Each emotion you have felt was a message from the universe, urging you to rediscover your own power to feel, to love, and to expand beyond the limits of your past self. As you move forward, remember that presence is your compass and intention is your map. The path is not linear, it is cyclical, spiraling ever deeper into awareness. Trust the stillness between chapters, for it is there that your energy recalibrates and new manifestations begin to form. You are both the creator and the creation, the dreamer and the dream. When you align your frequency with love, gratitude, and authenticity, life mirrors it back through beauty, synchronicity, and abundance. The truth is simple yet profound. Everything you've been seeking has always been within you. When you choose to meet the present moment with openness and reverence, the universe rushes to meet you halfway. You are no longer chasing transformation, you are embodying it. And in that embodiment, your vibration becomes a living prayer, an unspoken declaration that says, I am here, I am whole, and I am ready. What if the very pain you once ran from was the key to your awakening? What if everything you've experienced was guiding you toward this exact moment of clarity and expansion? Take a breath and feel that truth resonate through you. If these words have touched something within your heart, remember, your journey doesn't end here. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected to the energy of growth, healing, and manifestation. Continue watching the video appearing on your screen now and allow this transformation to deepen. Your next step is waiting, not outside of you, but within the vibration of who you are becoming.